So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday here on the Brady Farkas Show, WDEV AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Full show today again, all 90 minutes. We're up until 7 o'clock. We're going to do a deep dive on the Boston Celtics. The season opener is about 3 weeks away, October 25th, I believe it is, but the team is back in town. Media day was yesterday. There's a lot to get to with the Celtics. We're going to talk to longtime Celtics insider Keith Smith. We're going to do that at about 6:20 or so, or 6:20 or so as well. Tomorrow, we'll do a deep dive on the Red Sox here for the end of the season. Sox had their end of the year press conference yesterday. We'll talk about what we heard. We'll have Tom Caron. That's all coming up tomorrow. So yesterday was Patriots. Today is Celtics. Tomorrow is Red Sox. Who knows what Thursday will bring, and then Friday will be time to get back to the Patriots again. You can get in on the text line 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. Like our guy Bob over in Moncton, who got in early and said, Brady, enjoyed your interview with Nick Mumley yesterday. Thanks for covering the local racing scene. That's right. We did talk about Thunder Road and the Milk Bowl. That interview is available on our podcast channel at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Danny, Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations, Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, Swanton Lumber as well. Also over in Rouse's Point, New York. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Danny, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, just a little bit about the Celtics, but I want to kind of go back to this today, and I want to get the listeners involved. Again, 802-585-3026. I'll just ask you this question at the start. Are you happy right now with where the Celtics are? Right? It's an open-ended question. Are you happy where the Celtics are? We're 3 weeks away from the start of the season. The Celtics were a good team last year that came up short of expectations, came up short of their goal, and they've tried to improve themselves this year. Are you happy with where they are? Reminder, they've made two huge moves in this offseason. They've brought in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. They have sent out Rob Williams, Grant Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, and Marcus Smart. They've gotten two really big pieces. They have sent out four pretty big pieces on this roster. That said, still, as I said yesterday, and I thought about this in the overnight time as well as I was going to sleep, I thought more about this. I landed the same spot as I was yesterday. Overall, I am inclined to be happy with what the Celtics have done and where they are. I think when you look at the Celtics, they are a team that has raised their overall ceiling, right? They've brought in Porzingis. They've brought in Drew Holiday. I believe that they have raised their overall ceiling, right? We use that term a lot, don't we? Ceiling. Okay, I talk about Mac Jones having a ceiling and saying, the best he can become is Kirk Cousins. I talk about the Patriots in the preseason and say, the best they can do is 10 wins. And that's if everything goes perfectly. I believe the Celtics have, by these moves, have raised their ceilings. And when they got rid of Marcus Smart, I wasn't necessarily in favor of it. It took another 2.5, 3 months for everything to coalesce and come together. But now as we sit on October 3rd, I believe the Celtics have, again, raised their ceiling. Okay, they truly are, in my opinion, right now, a team whose ceiling is they could be the best team in the league and they can win the NBA title. That to me is their ceiling. They can have the best record in the NBA and they can win the title. And I believe that those two things are attainable this year. And those are my expectations, right? Those are my expectations for this Celtics team. My expectation is that they win the title. It's not just okay, if everything goes all right, maybe they get lucky and okay, they could back into something. That's not it. I believe the Celtics have the capability to have the best record in the NBA and have the capability to win the title. They could be the number 1 seed. They can have the best record. They can go all the way with this top 6, with this core 6 of Jaylen Brown, of Jason Tatum, of Drew Holiday, of Kristaps Porzingis, of Derek White, of Al Horford. With that crew of 6, I believe they are a team that can go all the way. Now, it's not without question. It's not just an automatic. They aren't perfect. There are certainly pitfalls potentially here that we will get to. But I believe the ceiling has been raised. And that's hard to do, right? This is a Celtics team that got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That went to, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That was in the championship series 2 years ago. It's hard to raise the ceiling on a team that was already really good. I believe the Celtics have done it. Because I look at this team, and while there are pitfalls and there are questions, I believe that they have everything that you could want in a basketball team. They've got defensive ability, both interior and exterior. Porzingis, the metrics, the grades on him as a rim protector, as a shot blocker are very, very good off a year ago. We love Rob Williams, right? We love his ability to block shots. Porzingis does that as well, and he does it almost as good as anybody, if not better than everybody on the interior. You've got a rim protector. You've got a perimeter stopper in Drew Holiday that can take away or limit another team's point guard who's a 5-time All-NBA defensive player. You've got scoring ability from multiple different spots on the floor. Tatum can go for 30. Brown can go for 30. Porzingis can go for 30. Holiday can go for 20. Like White, we've seen in as a role player, he can go for 20 on any given night. The scoring ability is there. The length is there. The wing players are there. The point guard is there. The defensive ability is there. The superstars are there. They've got experience now on this team. Okay, they've got guys who have been to the NBA Finals, and they've got a guy in Holiday who has won the NBA Finals, who's got a championship. So they have experience playing deep into the playoffs, and they have a guy who has closed out the NBA Finals. So they truly have everything. And I am inclined to like where they're at and inclined to like what they've done. 3 months ago, I didn't necessarily love the direction. I didn't love getting rid of Marcus Smart. But that's why I always say the show is today. 3 months ago, I'm allowed to not like what they're doing. Today, I'm allowed to change my opinion because it's a different story today than it was 3 months ago. Okay, the team that the Celtics have now, the team that they're going to go into an 82-game regular season with, the team they're going to go to battle with, I believe has the ceiling of NBA champion. And that is my expectation. That is my expectation. And Chris Forsberg, Celtics insider at NBC Sports Boston, he agrees with me about just how good, especially the top 6 on this roster are. Danny, we have the Chris Forsberg cut.
One of the things the Celtics did this offseason was put a priority on sacrificing emotion for the betterment of talent, right? And like talent is king in the NBA. So as much as some of us might be emotionally attached to Marcus Smart, to Robert Williams, you can undeniable the Celtics are a higher ceiling team right now by adding Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. You have 4 legitimate, like not only like potential all-stars, but guys that have been in all-stars in recent seasons. You have Derek White. Your top 6 is better than anybody else.
Your top 6 is better than anybody else. Like, there are other good teams here, right? This is not a layup for the Celtics, okay? This is not a layup, right? I look around the league, and Milwaukee obviously is excellent. Miami is still good in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland and Miami, by the way, remember how banged up they were last year. They're going to be healthier. So Milwaukee's good. Miami's good. Cleveland, I think, will be very, very good this year. The Knicks, Philly, we're not sure about James Harden, but Philly's still good. They've still got Embiid. And then there are other teams that are just kind of pesky in the Eastern Conference. Orlando, Indiana, Chicago, Toronto always plays hard and can give the Celtics some trouble. So I don't think this is a given for them to just waltz to the NBA Finals. But that is my expectation, and I believe they have the horses to be able to do it. 802-585-3026. A lot of people getting in on the text line. Virginia and Starksboro, I'm very happy. They have less depth, but depth is overrated in the NBA. We're going to talk about all the concerns for the Celtics coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, right? This is the optimistic time of the show. I've got a list of possible concerns, of possible pitfalls. You clearly have them as well. Depth, I think the depth is one of them, though, right? Like, to me, the depth is one of the biggest issues that can plague the Celtics. Is depth overrated in the NBA? Not in the regular season. Maybe in the postseason. In the postseason, when the games are more spread out, I think you can get away with 7-8 guys. In the regular season, you're going to need a stable full of players. I don't know that the Celtics have enough depth to get through an 82-game regular season at the level that I want the team to get through. I think that is a very valid point, but overall, I'm inclined to be happy with where they are. Texter says, overall, I'm happy with where they are. I think they're a better team than they were at the end of last year. I'm upset about the loss of Smart, though. I'm not sure anybody matches his intensity and defensive tenacity. Let me tell you this. Drew Holiday is a better version of Marcus Smart, right? And I love Smart, and I get why you are I get why you're attached to him. I get why you didn't want him to go, and I get why you hold him on a pedestal. It's perfectly fair. If I were a true diehard Celtics fan who had been a diehard Celtics fan for years, I'd feel the exact same way. Like, Marcus Smart is one of us. He's one of our guys. Drew Holiday is not. So you're inclined to hold Smart on a pedestal. Drew Holiday is better. Now, he's older. He can't do it for another 10 years. He's 33. He's going to be 33 this season. But you want a guy who has defensive intensity, who has tenacity and can guard the perimeter. Well, that's Drew Holiday. And oh, by the way, Drew Holiday averaged 19 points a game last year. And Drew Holiday averaged 38% from three.
On the all-defense team, too.
He's on the all-defensive team. He's done that 5 times, right? Smart has done it 3 times, Defensive Player of the Year. So you have a great defender who's a good point guard, who can score. That, to me, is a better version of Marcus Smart. So I think you'll be happy to have Holiday. He's not your guy, but he is a guy who's extremely, extremely good. Kyle in South Burlington has questions about Missoula. Phil in Middlesex says they need more depth. Peter in Williston says, I agree on the Celtics. I'm fired up for this season. Virginia comes back in and says the regular season doesn't matter in the NBA. That's not true. I actually think the regular season matters a great deal to this Celtics team, and I'm going to tell you why coming up at about 6:05. Danny, because you are such a diehard Celtics fan and you look at this from a different vantage point than me, let me ask you about the Smart versus Holiday question. How do you view those two, and how do you feel about having Holiday essentially replace Smart?
Yeah, it's a perfect replacement. As a fan, you loved Marcus Smart. Everybody did. But like you said, Drew is probably just a better shooting version of Marcus Smart, probably a better playmaker as well. So, I mean, that's the best replacement you could possibly get.
Now, I understand that Drew Holiday had Giannis, right? So, like, it's easy to get assists when you're giving to Giannis. It should be easy to get assists when you got Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis and Derek White on your roster as well. I can see Drew Holiday getting 7.5, 8 assists again this year. So a guy who he won't need to score like that for this Celtics team, but if he can get 15 points a game and 8 assists and play lockdown defense and handle the point so that Jaylen Brown doesn't have to and dribble the ball off his foot 14 times a game, like, that's a win for the Celtics as far as I'm concerned. And that's better. And everybody who got upset with Marcus Smart's quick trigger or too many threes, Drew Holiday is a better shooter. I think he's a little more disciplined in terms of what shots he takes, and he's going to hit a higher percentage of them. I think you're going to love watching Drew Holiday play. I do. I think you're going to love watching Drew Holiday play. Tex says Holiday is a huge pickup. Like you said, Brady, he's a better version of Smart, and he can score easier. Exactly. Tex says, wasn't Miami the 8th seed last year? The regular season doesn't matter. Again, I'm going to tell you why at 6:05. I think it matters very much to this version of the NBA, to this version of the Celtics. Another texter says, Celtics can now outscore opponents with Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. They can. I don't know that they want to just be a team that can outscore you, though. They talked a lot yesterday about wanting to play better defense, and Holiday can do that, and Porzingis can do that. So we'll see where they're at. Like, I know it's the way the NBA is. We're not going to be playing 85, 81 games, but I don't think the Celtics need to be playing 127 to 124 this year either. I would like to see, Danny, the Celtics play in a world where they can give up, 106, 104, right? If they can win games 111 to 102, I'd be thrilled with that, right? I don't need 127, 124. I don't want to see 127, 124. If we can live in a world where it's 115 to 103, I will be very, very happy with that. Again, the ceiling on this team is the best team in the league. The ceiling on this team is NBA champion. Danny, you talk about Holiday and Smart in the comparison. 24 hours later, are you also happy with where the Celtics are at?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy where they're at. We're going to see, their depth. That's going to be an issue we're pretty sure of. But 15, 20 games in, we'll see what kind of people step up. We don't know who that is yet, but.
Yeah, we don't know who that is yet. They are going to need people to step up. Again, we'll get to that at about 6:05. We'll talk about some of the criticism, some of the other things we need answers on. The text line's hopping, 802-585-3026. We will step aside. We will come back. We'll play you some of the sounds from Media Day. What's Brad Stevens saying? What's Jaylen Brown saying? What's Jason Tatum saying? What are the insiders saying? The sound from Celtics Media Day, which was held yesterday, that's coming up next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Come to the Taste of Montpelier Food Festival and be part of the grand reopening weekend of Montpelier, October 6th and 7th. Dine at world-class restaurants, enjoy foods from 20 vendors from across the region, and learn new cooking techniques from our chef demonstrations. The fun begins on Friday, October 6th with Art Walk and businesses reopening with fantastic sidewalk sales. Kick off Saturday morning with the Capital City Farmers Market on the Vermont College of Fine Art Green from 9 to 1. Take part in 24-hour Comics Day. Celebrate Kellogg Hubbard Library's grand reopening from 10 to 2, and then enjoy fantastic food and drink at the Taste of Montpelier from 1 to 5, with street performances all afternoon at City Hall and on Langdon Street. Montpelier can't wait to have you visit. You won't want to miss this family-friendly event, rain or shine. Montpelier is back and open for business. The Taste of Montpelier Festival, Friday and Saturday, October 6th and 7th. Find out more at montpelieralive.com/taste.
Hey there, sports enthusiasts. Have you heard the exciting news? Tygason Sports is back and better than ever after the flood. Tygason Sports is your go-to destination for all your fall sports needs, like field hockey and soccer. And winter hockey gear has just arrived. From top-notch sports equipment to team accessories, they're fully stocked and ready to serve you. Visit Tygason Sports, open Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., 51 Smith Street in Barrie, TygasonSports.com.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9, W270BR Island Pond. Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results.
We've done a broad selection of other stations, and DEV kind of represents an interesting niche. It's been one of our better producing stations. DEV has a dedicated and responsive audience, so as an advertiser, there's not much more you can ask for. Paul LaShore from Green Mountain Solar.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Some of the sounds of Media Day yesterday for the Celtics. Here, Danny, let's just kind of grip it and rip it. Let's get right to it here. So here for some of the big pieces with the Celtics. Can we get Brad Stevens number one, please?
Got to pay a good price for things, right? Like, that's the way it goes. We're trying to win a championship, trying to be as good as we can be. We certainly did, and you know, 2 picks and 2 good players, and that is a real price. And
he's talking about the trade to acquire Drew Holiday, right? Giving up Rob Williams, giving up Malcolm Brogdon, giving up some draft picks. But he says you've got to pay for nice things. I got to tell you, I love that Brad Stevens is going for it. I love that Brad Stevens is not settling. And there is a fine line in sports, right? You don't want to break up a core that's been so successful. You don't want to tinker with a team that you think is right on the precipice. But I also have to give respect to a guy who's not afraid to go for it, who's not afraid to admit when something's gotten a little stale, or when something has reached its peak, or when something has kind of played out its existence. That's what Brad Stevens is doing. I give him credit for that. I don't know that it's going to work. I think that it should work. I think it has the ability to work, but I give him credit for going for it and not settling. We see so often in sports where teams get close and then they just assume that they're going to stay at that level, or they're going to naturally get better. I use my Mariners as an example only because I just lived it for 162 games, right? The Mariners last year won 90 games, got to the playoffs, and won a round in the playoffs. And in the offseason, they did nothing, right? They essentially did nothing. They just said internally, you know what? We think we're good enough, and we think our young players are going to naturally get better, and we assume that we're going to be able to get further than we did a season ago, right? That is what they did, and it is something that ultimately backfired on them, right? Some young players didn't take that step. Some veteran players regressed. They dealt with injuries this year that they didn't deal with last year, and you ended up winning 88 games and missing the playoffs entirely. The Mariners looked at it like, okay, we're good enough. We don't need to do anything else. Brad Stevens is saying, good enough is not good enough. And I give him credit for that. I give him credit for being bold enough to take some chances. I wouldn't love this necessarily for every team, right? I wouldn't love blowing up a core that had been together for 1 year or for a young team that was clearly knocking on the door. The Celtics are not a young team that's clearly knocking on the door. They've been in the neighborhood for 5 or 6 years now, and they haven't gotten it done yet. It's okay to try something different. And maybe 4 months ago, I was not okay with it, but now stepping back, I am okay with it. And I give him credit for being bold enough to take those chances and to take this team and to do what he can to try to take this team over the hump and to try to take this team to the next level. The NBA has become a make bold decisions league, right? I look at Toronto a couple of years ago and they traded for Kawhi Leonard. And I look at Golden State years before that and they signed Kevin Durant. And I look at, I don't know. There's someone else that'll come to me here, but like just in the NBA team, the Lakers going to get Anthony Davis, and then they win the title in the COVID bubble year, right? The Nuggets going out and getting Aaron Gordon. It's not quite in the same tier as those other guys, but like the Nuggets ended up winning a title, and Aaron Gordon was a big part of it. Like the NBA is a bold, big move strike league, and the Celtics are doing that, and Brad Stevens is doing that. And I give him credit for it. Danny Stevens also spoke about Drew Holiday and why he's a perfect fit in Boston.
I mean, there's a list of guys in the league that you always think you'll never have a real chance to get that you think are like perfect fits, and that you'd love to be a Celtic. And Drew was, one of those guys. And the reasons are, everybody can see what he does on the court. And he's a really good player, multiple time All-Star. The defense has been well documented, et cetera. But I think it's he's an elite teammate, elite competitive character.
Danny, I think that Brad Stevens is exactly right on that. Like when we think of Boston Celtics prototype guys, or when we think of guys who will resonate with the fan base, I think Drew Holiday fits that to a T, just like Marcus Smart fit it to a T. There's another reason why Drew Holiday is a good replacement for Marcus Smart, because not only does he do the same things, but a little bit better offensively, he does the same things defensively, the same thing intensity-wise, the same thing tenacity-wise. Drew Holiday is going to play to the crowd. Drew Holiday is going to rally the crowd up. Drew Holiday is not going to back down from anybody. You know who, Danny, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. You know who I kind of see Drew Holiday being, at least defensively? He's a much better offensive player than who I'm about to mention. He kind of reminds me of Patrick Beverley without being annoying. Like, do you understand where I'm going with that point? Like, Patrick Beverley can rub people the wrong way, and he can be too much, and he can be too in your face, and you can roll your eyes at it. But Patrick Beverley plays with a tenacity that is undeniable. Drew Holiday strikes me defensively as Patrick Beverley, but under more control. And I think that's going to play in Boston.
I can see that, yeah. Do you see Gary Payton as well a little bit? The intensity of defensively?
I grew up watching Gary Payton. I love Gary Payton. For me, Gary Payton's on the pedestal, and Gary Payton's in the Hall of Fame. I don't see Drew Holiday as the offensive player as Gary Payton. I also don't see him as the trash talker of Gary Payton, right? Like Gary Payton is more Patrick Beverley, but with an offensive game. Drew Holiday, I think, is more quiet, is more reserved. And because of that, because he just puts his head down and goes to work, because he just puts his head down and plays hard, I think he's going to be a guy that the fans love. I always said this about Chris Sale, right? If Chris Sale had been able to stay healthy, Chris Sale would be beloved in Boston. Like, people don't like Chris Sale because they don't like the contract and they don't like that he's never available. But if Chris Sale were available all the time, Chris Sale would be revered in New England, right? David Price wasn't liked because David Price was not a put your head down and go to work guy. Chris Sale is a bring your lunchbox to work guy, put your hard hat on, punch in, punch out, kind of a mean scowl, just a tough guy. Fans love that in Boston. And I think they're going to love Drew Holiday. They're going to love his attitude. They're going to love his demeanor. They're going to love his tenacity. He's going to be diving on the floor. He's going to be getting in people's shorts. And oh, by the way, he's going to go for 15 to 20 a game. I think people are going to love watching Drew Holiday play. And I do think there's an association with Boston there. Like, I can't necessarily, there are other guys like I think the Celtics would do well with. There are other guys like I've always wanted to be a Celtic. Like, he's hurt now, and now his career very well may be over. But I always wanted to see Lonzo Ball play for the Celtics, right? I always wanted to see Lonzo play here because of his ability to be a pass-first point guard in the mold of Rajon Rondo. So there are guys who I think would fit Boston from a playing standpoint, but from a personality standpoint, from an effort standpoint, I think that I think that Drew Holiday is absolutely right there near the top of the list. I think this guy is really going to resonate with people. Danny, let me hear Derek White, number one, talking about the team's defensive identity.
I mean, obviously, I would say we kind of lost our defensive mindset. We just wasn't talking about it as much, and that's obviously a big difference between the year before and last year. But definitely, it's going to be a big focus of our team this year.
That struck me. That one, of all the things I heard yesterday, that was the one that stuck out to me negatively. Derek White says we lost our defensive identity last year. We weren't talking about it like the year before. It's going to be a big focus of our team this year. Whose fault is that? That's what I want to know. Was that Joe Mazzulla who stopped talking about it last year? Was it Brad Stevens who didn't make it an organizational priority so that Joe Mazzulla didn't have to talk about it? Or was it the players themselves? Was it Jason Tatum? Was it Jaylen Brown? Was it your team leaders who said, nah, man, we're good. We can just score 130 whenever we want? Because I need to know who did it last year or who didn't do it last year so that I know and can learn who's going to be the guy that changes it this year. Because the most vocal guy in that locker room from last year, Marcus Smart, he's gone. The guy from last year that would have championed defense, that would have shoved it down everyone's throats, that guy's gone. So who is the guy this year that's going to change it? Is it Mazzulla himself is making a bigger commitment to defense? Is it Brad Stevens who has told Mazzulla to make a bigger commitment to defense? Or is it all of a sudden the light's going to go on for Tatum and Brown to where they're going to recognize that they might have slipped up a year ago? That was the one, Danny, that stuck out to me negatively. Did you read it, anything into it like I did, or am I making too much of it?
I didn't read too much into it, but they do need to step up defensively. They slipped off towards the second half of last year. They were not in the top 10 anymore, I don't think, in defensive rating. So whatever it was, individual defense or team defense, they were just not clicking.
I just want to know who's the person that's going to champion it this year. That's all I want to know. You're right. They do need to be better defensively. We all know that. We all can see that. But who's the guy that's going to lead that charge? Because I don't think it's Drew Holiday that's going to come in and immediately start getting in people's grills about playing defense. So is it just an organizational philosophy from the top down? Is it Mazzulla himself? Is it the players? That's something that I'm going to have to find out the answer to as we move forward. October 25th, that's the season opener for the Celtics. They're going to have several preseason games. I think it's like 6 leading up to that, but we're going to be with you every step of the way. Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. We'll get the CBS News update. You'll hear more about the Speaker of the House being removed. When we come back, there are some questions about this team. I think their ceiling is win it all and be the best team in basketball. There are some questions. There are some pitfalls. What are they? We'll lay out the questions and concerns next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and the WDEV radio app.
This is WDEV. Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush at 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield. In Berry at 96.4.
Danny, let's go
in Montpelier at
all five here.
Along with our founding
I mean,
station,
there's just
AM
not
550
enough.
WDEV Waterbury, Montpelier. Streaming at WDEVradio.com. 92 years of serving Vermont.
Yes,
The friendly
terrible.
pioneer, WDEV.
I'm going to.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica.
How'd that tease work out today? Good?
The House votes are in.
The yeas are 216. The nays.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to try to just send them early from now on.
Is out as Speaker.
So,
CBS's
all right, I'll be right back.
Has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz filed the motion to remove McCarthy after the Speaker turned to Democrats to help pass a short-term spending bill to keep the government open.
The one thing that the White House, House Democrats, and many of us on the conservative side of the Republican caucus would argue is that the thing we have in common, Kevin McCarthy said something to all of us at one point or another that he didn't really mean and never intended to live up to.
The decision to vacate the chair means the House will now plunge into a battle to elect the next Speaker of the House, though McCarthy likely can and will run again.
California Democrat LaFonza Butler has been sworn into the Senate.
And that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter. So help you God.
I will.
Congratulations.
Butler's only the third Black woman after Kamala Harris and first openly gay senator. She replaces Dianne Feinstein, who died last week at 90. The vice president will speak at her funeral in California on Thursday. Former President Trump got hit with a temporary gag order today in his civil fraud trial in New York. CBS's Robert Costa's there.
On Truth Social, Trump's social media platform earlier today, Trump issued a statement about a clerk who works for the judge. And he said that this clerk, falsely, is the girlfriend of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York. And because of that statement, and he came back into the courtroom and said, effectively, you now have a gag order when it comes to talking about my staff.
Trump also took a hit from Forbes today. He's no longer rich enough to be on its list of its 400 wealthiest Americans. The Justice Department issued sweeping indictments and sanctions today against China and Canada for selling chemicals to make fentanyl to drug dealers and cartels. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
We know that behind the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans is a cartel-driven fentanyl trafficking network that spans countries and continents.
More than 20 people are dead after a bus carrying tourists crashed off an overpass in Venice, Italy. That bus fell 49 feet onto power lines and caught fire. It's still unclear what caused it. FEMA's sending an emergency alert. Here's CBS's Matt Piper.
The test will evaluate the technological capabilities of the National Alert System to reach and inform as many people as possible in case of a widespread emergency.
It goes out tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle, so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
A big bear show's back.
Fat Bear Week is underway at Katami National Park in Alaska. The ginormous guys and gals are gorging on sockeye salmon ahead of their annual hibernation. They can generally eat as many as 40 fish a day, or about 100,000 calories worth, and finish it all off with berries, grass, clams, and clay. Longtime legend Otis is back competing. Last year's champ, Colbert, is on the ballot again, too. Fans can watch the bears as they bulk up by logging on to explore.org. Then vote on their favorites from tomorrow through next Tuesday. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Welcome to New York. Well, in case you missed it, Swifties are boosting NFL ratings. More than 27 million people watched the Kansas City Chiefs beat the New York Jets Sunday night, making it the highest rated game of the season so far and the year after the Super Bowl. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Danny, did I tell you my story from last night? Did I tell you the story about the guy who approached my car window?
No.
So I was out, I won't say exactly where, but I was out along a strip. I was stopping to get food before the Seahawks game, right? Like I wanted something fun to have before the Seahawks game. So I stopped for, a burger type thing, whatever. And there's a guy who comes right up to my door, and he told me a story that he was homeless and had been homeless for a little while, and he asked me if I had any money. And I'm obviously sensitive. We have news stories every day on the homeless crisis, and I don't know if he was actually homeless or not, but that's what he said. And I'm sensitive to the homeless crisis and the housing market, et cetera. But this guy, he startled me just because I'm not used to people coming up to me before, I'm at the point now where I'm about to get out of my car. I'm reaching in my pocket. Okay, do I have my wallet? I'm kind of looking down. Okay, let me turn off the radio. And then all of a sudden he just pops up. I'm like, whoa, startled me there. So I gave the guy a little bit of money, and then he went on his way, and everything was fine. But I was a little spooked last night because I'm not used to people coming up to me in pitch black after the show and getting up right near the car.
Yeah, I haven't had that one happen to me yet.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Everything's good. He was good. I was good, and he went on his way, and that's that. But I was like, whoa! I'm just trying to go. I'm trying to grab this food, go watch the Seahawks game, and that was that. So all was well. But I was like, I usually tell you when things like that happen. But yeah, that's what happened to me last night on the way home. So very, very interesting. All right, now back from my life to the Celtics life. I'm going to ask Danny for his concerns about the Celtics. I'm going to ask you for your concerns with the Celtics, 802-585-3026. Keith Smith, formerly of Celtics Blog, a Celtics Insider, is going to be with us here in about 15 minutes. And I've got a list of things I think are issues for the Celtics. But I also heard this one, which was interesting. This one was not on my list of Celtics pitfalls. This one was from Brian Windhorst of ESPN, Danny. Do we have Windy?
Yeah, so they're a little bit shaken because I think that they spent the last few months getting used to not having Marcus Smart, not having most of their coaching staff from last year, having a different arrangement with their front court, bringing Kristaps Porzingis. They were all getting ready for sort of the new Celtics. And then it became the new Celtics when they traded for an all-star 24 hours before the start of media day. So look, to a man down the line, there's a lot of excitement here as they get ready to have their new player. Drew Holiday was in the facility today. They all got to meet him. Jason Tatum won a gold medal with him in Tokyo. There's a lot of excitement, but I also get the feel that there's going to be a little bit of a period of change as they get used to.
I think there's some truth to that, right? Like you go into a season planning for something, you go into a season thinking about something, you go into a season thinking you're going to play with this guy, and how am I going to play off that guy, and what are we going to do here, and we're going to play two bigs. And then all of a sudden, it's like your entire personnel and your playbook has changed. I think there's some truth to that. I do. I think for Brian Windhorst to say that the guys are a little bit shook, not necessarily negative, but they're a little bit rattled about how they're going to play and knowing their teammates and learning what this guy does and that guy does and how everyone ticks. I think there's some truth to that. Usually when you make a big move or you make a big signing, it happens around July 4th, right? Like that's when the free agency window opens in the NBA. And by that point, you will have had 4 months before the season starts to kind of have conversations with guys and get to know guys and play pickup with guys, etc. This year you have 1 month. So this is the second year in a row where I think the Celtics are jolted right on the eve of training camp, right? Last year was the Ime Udoka suspension or step aside, whatever. And this year it's Drew Holiday being acquired. So I think there's some truth to what Windhorst says. I think there's some fairness in that. And I think there will be an adjustment period. But I also think, truthfully, the Celtics will need to figure this out quickly. Okay. And Danny, this is something that kind of a response to something we got a couple texts on in the first hour. People were saying, the regular season doesn't matter, whatever. I think the regular season actually matters very deeply to these Celtics. And look, they're going to make the playoffs no matter what. Yes, they could sleepwalk through the regular season and get the 6th seed in the playoffs. No problem. They'll make the playoffs no matter what. But I think they need to care about the regular season. And I really do think they need to lock up the top seed. Not a top 2 seed, not a top 3 seed. I think the Celtics, I said their ceiling is the best team in the NBA. I think their ceiling is winning the NBA championship. I think an expectation I have is that they're going to take the regular season seriously. They're going to figure this thing out early. They're going to need to, and they need to lock up home court. I know last year Miami was the 8th seed. It didn't matter. Well, you know what? I don't think that is necessarily realistic. Okay, I think the Eastern Conference has some very good teams. And if I'm the Celtics, I want them having home court advantage every time. Yes, they've struggled at home in the playoffs in the last couple of years. I'm well aware of their history. But I don't want them having to go on the road. Okay, so I don't want to see this team plod along and be 10-10 while they're figuring it out. Then all of a sudden we try to turn it on in April. I want them to figure it out quickly. Because you know what? I think Milwaukee's going to start out the year again 16-2. Or 20-4. And I don't want to give them an 8 to 10 game head start on this thing while the Celtics are playing catch up. I think Cleveland's going to be very good. I think they're going to take the regular season very seriously. I think the Knicks are good. I think the Sixers are going to be good. Okay, I don't want to see the Celtics just kind of waltz through, figure thing out, stub their toe, and be 13-11. And then be 17-13. And all of a sudden it's January 1st and you're like, whoa, they're in the 6th spot right now. And then they have to play catch up all the second half of the season. That's not what I'm looking for. I think this team, Danny, and maybe you think I'm wrong, but I think this team needs to take care of the regular season, take care of business in the regular season. And I want to see them as the number 1 seed. I don't want to see Giannis on the road for games 1 and 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't want to go to Cleveland in game 1 and 2 of the second round. I don't want to have to go to Miami for games 1 and 2 of the playoff series. I want to see the Celtics hosting these games on home floor. Why? Because I said that the expectation for me is that they win the title. And what's the easiest path to winning a title? Having all the games that matter in your building. And that's as simple as it gets to me. I want this team to win a title. I think they can win a title. I think they should be expected to win the title. And the easiest path to doing that is having all the games that matter in your building. Game 1, the tone-setting game of a series. Game 7, the ultimate closeout game should it come to that. I want those games in this building. I want them in Boston, right? Wasn't it, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, was it games, did they have to win Game 7 in Philly last year or the second round? I don't want to have to go through that again.
Yeah, I think it was on the road. Yeah, I can't remember. But yes, there was Game 7s.
Am I overvalued? Well, they lost Game 7 at home to Miami.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure Game 7 on the road in Philly, they won. But I don't want to have to do that again. No. Am I overvaluing the regular season, though?
No, I don't think so. I think you need to set a tone. Like last year, they started off really hot, and then second half of the year, they really fell off. They were losing to like the Houston Rockets, who are like a 20-win team. But it's about playing consistently all year, right?
I think, yes, I think you're right. Play consistently all year. 802-585-3026. I am this is Glenn in Brookfield. I'm from the Larry Bird era. Who is their guy to lead the team and refuse to lose? It's a good question, right? We're talking about pitfalls for the Celtics. It's a good question. Kind of, who is that step-up guy? Because we've talked about Jaylen Brown maybe being the alpha male on this team come playoff time, but he's not as good as Jason Tatum. We talk about Jason Tatum being the best player, but sometimes he'll disappear in the big moments. Those are fair questions, especially as we get towards the playoffs. Danny, I'm going to ask you, I'll give you a second to do it here, but I want you to go to that computer that's right next to you, and I want you to play the NBA on NBC theme music for me, because we're going to run through some Celtics questions, and I need to get, oh, look at you, right on top.
Oh, we had that ready to go.
right off the bat. Good. It's only like 2.5 minutes long, so you might have to keep hitting replay, but I don't care. I love the NBA on NBC theme music. All right, I'm going to run through my 5 big Celtics questions, right? My 5 big questions. Danny, you may have different ones. I'm going to ask you for your thoughts after. 802-585-3026. We'll do this before Keith Smith comes on in a couple of minutes. My number 1 question for the Celtics is something that we've alluded to, is something that some of you have alluded to. It is depth. It's overall depth. 82 games in a season. That's a long time, right? 82 games is a lot. You're going to need some guys to step up, right? The Celtics have a great top 6. They also have a top 6 that's got an injury history, right? Jaylen Brown's missed some time. And Kristaps Porzingis has missed time, right? He had the foot injury here that caused him to not play in the World Cup. So you've got some guys with injury histories, and you've got some guys with age and some wear and tear on the tires. Jaylen Brown's played a lot of basketball. Jason Tatum's played a lot of basketball. Al Horford is older. Kristaps Porzingis is now almost a decade into the league. Drew Holiday is going to play this year at 33. This is no longer a young team with constantly fresh legs. This is an older team with experience that has a lot of guys that are younger who have played a lot of basketball, right? Jason Tatum came into the league at 18, 19 years old. Jaylen Brown came in at 19 years old. These guys have played a lot of hoop. And to get through an 82-game season, you're going to need more than just your 6 guys. I don't love load management, but there's going to be a game where you're going to want to sit somebody. Or at least you're going to want to in-game load manage somebody and let Tatum play 27 minutes instead of 47 minutes. Who are the guys that are going to step up, right? Because the Celtics, to my knowledge, don't have a ton of money right now to go out and make other big, impactful moves. So they've got who they've got. You've got your top 6, but beyond that, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, O'Shea Brissett, Jordan Walsh, the kid who they drafted 2nd round out of Arkansas. You're going to need some people to step up. You have a bit of an aging roster. You have a bit of an injured roster. You're going to need some guys who come and fill that void. In the regular season, you're going to need 9 guys, 10 guys that you can go to. You may not need it in the playoffs. You may not want it in the playoffs. But you're going to need to answer the depth questions as we move forward. These guys are going to have to step up. And then you're also going to need probably to do something over the course of the year, whether it's trade, buyout market, et cetera. I'm going to ask Keith Smith some of these questions as well. But depth to me would be the number 1 concern. Number 2 for me is the front court. It's interesting, right? The NFL has become a passing league. So teams are getting smaller and more athletic offensively. So then defenses started getting smaller and more athletic. And then there was a thought that maybe some of these teams would start running again, building up big physical offensive lines and pushing around these smaller defensive lines, right? Kind of a zig-well-zag thing. Well, the NBA has become a guard-driven league. But all of a sudden, there seems to be a kind of hearkening back to the big man again. Not so much the Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Tim Duncan types, but just bigger players, again, seem to have a role in the NBA. And a couple of years ago, they were getting phased out, right? I know that a lot of the bigger players are also combo guys, right? Wembanyama, Jokic, they're big guys that can play outside. But bigger players in general have a role again in the NBA. And the Celtics, to me, there is a concern in the front court, or at least of all the places on the roster, that's probably where I'm the most concerned about any one positional group. They lost, like they had Rob Williams, and they had Grant Williams, who was a smaller guy who could play big. And they had Marcus Smart, who was a smaller guard who was not afraid to play down low. You look at it now, they've got Porzingis, who his evolution into a big man is recent. He's not a traditional big man, not a traditional back-to-the-basket player. And you've got Horford, who at least offensively is not really a big man either. He's a step-out jump shooter at this point in his career. Defensively, maybe, but the front court, I would say, is a concern about their size and their depth in the front court, right? Maybe Luke Cornett can step in and play some minutes, but they don't have Blake Griffin anymore. They don't have Rob Williams anymore. They have some questions in the front court. Question number 3 for me. How much do they care about the regular season? Because I just told you I think it matters immensely. Does it matter to them? They know that they can sleepwalk through the regular season. And they know that they can get to the playoffs. And then they will think, like all athletes, that you can just turn it on when you get there and they're good enough for talent to win out. But if they value the regular season, if they take it seriously, if they come in with a purpose and get the number 1 seed, I don't think anything stops them. If they come in and loaf through the first 10 games and are 10-10, and loaf through the first 30 and are 17-13, and loaf through the first 50 and we look up and they're 28 and 22, I mean, that's going to be a problem as far as I'm concerned. And it's interesting. It's a different story, but it's the same kind of thing. Later this week, we're going to have Elisa Kresge on the show. I think it's going to be Thursday, the UVM women's basketball coach. And the question I'm already telling you, I'm going to ask her is this. How do you get your team to value the regular season this year? Because the UVM women's basketball team accomplished their goal last year, right? They got to the NCAA tournament. You know what they want to do again this year? They want to get back there. And that is probably what matters to them. They want to get back to the tournament. They want to move one step further than they did a year ago. Can they go from a 16 seed to a 14 seed? Can they win a game? Can they pull an upset? Can they go unbeaten in the regular season? Can they, whatever. They've accomplished their goal last year. I am sure that some people on that team are trying to just fast forward to March because the regular season no longer has the same value to them. I think the Celtics could fall into that trap, right? Drew Holiday's been to the NBA Finals and won it. All these other guys in the Celtics have been to the NBA Finals and come close. All they care about is getting to the finals again. All they care about is a chance to win the championship. How do they value the journey? How do they treat the journey? Do they treat the journey with importance? I don't know. I think they should. I think they need to. I don't know that they will. And that would be question number 3 for me. Question number 4. Danny, this is something that I brought up months ago. I will continue to bring it up now. Leadership, I'm still going to have a question about. It's not so much to me that the Celtics don't have leaders. I want to know how it shakes out. I want to know how the leadership responsibilities shake out. Because I think it was pretty clear last year that Marcus Smart was the guy. And everybody else kind of fell in line around him. Now, you have kind of sharks in the water. And you have sharks trying to get to the surface. Who is going to be that guy that gets the ultimate voice? If there's any infighting at all for fighting for that spot, then I think that's a problem. I like it when a team has a clear leader. I like it when a team has a clear guy who gives the message who people rally around, right? I know it's a different sport. Matthew Slater is very clearly the leader of the Patriots. He is the guy that when he talks, everyone will listen. Forever, it was Udonis Haslem with the Miami Heat. He didn't play very much, but he was the leader. I like it when teams have a singular voice, and the Celtics don't have that this year. I think Jaylen Brown can be a great leader. I think Al Horford can be a great leader. I think that Jason Tatum has some leadership qualities. Are all 3 of them leaders? Or does one of them knock the other 2 out in the race to the top? I don't know. But if you have a structure where people are fighting to get to the top, you're going to have some hurt feelings along the way. And that's something that Celtics can't afford. Right? Danny, you don't have to play it, but I got quotes about Jason Tatum talking about leadership. We got Jaylen Brown saying that he's not afraid to step up. Like, I mean, how does this all shake out? I do think it's a big deal. And I think it's something that, does it concern me? I can't say that it does, but it's something that I'm leery of. It's something that I do worry about how it all shakes out. And finally, Danny, I do want you to get this one, okay? It was from yesterday. It was from Colin Cowherd about Joe Mazzulla. Hold on to that for a second. Question number 5 is Joe Mazzulla, right? Like, concern number 5 for me with the Celtics is Joe Mazzulla. What has he learned from a year ago? What has he gotten better at from a year ago? Is he the guy that didn't value defense last year, and how does he go about valuing it this year? How does he go about changing the tune? How does he handle his rotations, right? There was all this talk about who was playing and how much were they playing and who was subbing in for who. Well, now they've got 6 guys in this. They've got 6 guys. How does he shake out the minutes there? Is he overplaying guys? Is he playing guys not enough? What about the bench guys? Joe Mazzulla is the question. And then come playoff time, does he rise up or does he freeze? Those are my 5 questions when it comes to the Boston Celtics. I do think, as I said, their ceiling is to be the best team in the league. Their ceiling is to win the whole thing. I said that their ceiling is to win the title. I believe that that should be their expectation. I believe they're capable of it. Any of those 5 things, though, could be things that trip them up. and they're all things that I'm going to be watching for. Danny, what do you think? Is there anything I missed on your list?
We kind of touch on it, but defense, right? Just consistent defense all year, 82 games of defense, being in the top 10 in the league. They should be. They have all the offensive talent in the world. They should be good at defense as well.
Is that your biggest concern, that the Celtics will either be disinterested or unable to play defense? Is that the thing you worry about most?
I don't think it's disinterested. I think they have a lot of good individual defenders. I think it's about a bunch of guys coming together and playing team defense. And it's not just an effort thing. That's a scheme thing, and that's coaching. And that's just something they're going to have to figure out.
So we will see what happens. But those are my 5 questions plus Danny's 6th one here as the biggest issues for the Celtics. Ross says, I hope Drew Holiday is a great impact player. He absolutely is going to be a great impact player. He is. He's Marcus Smart, but better. Will wants to know what I think about the Seahawks and Geno Smith last night. Not the time and place. I'll answer that if we got a little time at the end of the show. Right now, we're on a Celtics hot streak. I want to go out to the phone line now and bring on Keith Smith. Keith Smith is a Celtics insider, longtime insider over at Celtics blog. Now you can find his work over at Spot Track. He's great there talking about kind of the financial situation of the NBA. I want his opinion on some of this stuff. I know Danny's got him queued up here. So Keith, thank you very much for being with us yet again. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being with us. Before we go deep on anything, surface level, your thoughts on the Celtics offseason as a whole. Are they better now than the team that stepped off the floor?
Put my headphone down for a second.
I think so. I'm not entirely sure because there's a lot more risk with this group. They don't have as much depth. Kristaps Porzingis has had a string of health issues throughout the course of his career. But getting Drew Holiday, that tips it more towards, I think they're probably better, even if they've lost some of the depth. I think we'll see a handful of the guys that they've brought in emerge and take on bigger roles this year. I think a guy like Peyton Pritchard, who's been around, is poised to take on a bigger role. So I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to get through it all just fine. But it is going to take a little bit to get used to all these new faces, because this almost feels like a almost completely different team.
I think the Celtics are better as well. I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't think it's overwhelming, but I do think they are better. I brought up yesterday that depth was probably my biggest concern about this team. They kind of went from 8 pretty good guys to 6 pretty good guys. Do you see depth as the biggest issue?
It can be. Now, in the NBA, you need depth for the 82-game regular season. In the postseason, if you've got 6, 7, 8 guys that you feel good about, you're generally all right, because rotation shrink down, everybody plays a little bit more. But you got to get there first, and that's a little bit of a challenge for the Celtics right now. Whether it's guys with injury history like Porzingis, and I'll throw Jaylen Brown in there too to some extent. He's missed a good chunk of time here and there in seasons, and then you've also got Al Horford's older, Drew Holiday's an older player that you may want to be able to spot those guys when necessary. So I think what happens in this situation is you've got to have enough guys step forward to get through. So there's a lot of opportunities for different Celtic players to step up and show, hey, whether it's just for more minutes per game or it's just to play a handful more games when other guys are missing time, those opportunities are there. But yeah, we got to see those guys step forward before I'm going to fully buy in that it's all just fine with the depth.
If I'm pointing to another issue on this team, I think I would go to the front court. I guess it's also still part of depth, but you lose Rob Williams, you lose Grant Williams, who was a smaller guy who could play big. You are testing your front court. Does that worry you?
A little bit, yeah. I think, it's not just Rob Williams and Grant Williams, but the fact that Horford's old or Porzingis, again, I sound like a broken record, but he's not always on the court, right? So you do have worries with that. I'll say, if let's be optimistic and say that part ends up sorting itself out, my worry with the front court in kind of the team overall is if they're going to be a good rebounding team. Last year, they were the best defensive rebounding team in the league by the end of the season. And I know some people might be like, wait, what? No, that can't be. But they were. Now, this year, that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. And part of what put them at the best was, despite not having the one kind of singular dominant rebounder, you had guys like Smart and Grant Williams who did the dirty work of they'd check out, they'd block out, they'd make sure, that guys were freed up to go after the glass. And they're going to have to do a little bit more of that as a team this year with this group, because Kristaps Porzingis, he may be 7'3", but he sometimes tends to rebound more like he's 6'3", and that can be a little bit of a challenge.
Expand with me on that, because it's interesting on Porzingis, because I started my radio career now 9 years ago in New York, and I believe that was Porzingis' rookie year as well. And I've always had him painted in my mind as this lanky jump shooter, kind of stereotypical Euro player. Apparently, he has become more of a post presence and better around the rim defensively, better playing post-up basketball kind of down low. Talk to me about the evolution of his game and what we should expect.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot more physical inside on defense. It used to be when he got blocked, it was strictly from weak side position where he was coming from out of nowhere and using his leg. Now he'll take a hit and stay big and, the verticality game and challenge guys at the rim. On offense, you're absolutely right. I mean, he was, for a long time, was like, so we have a 7'3" 3-point specialist? Like, what is this guy? And whether it's in New York or in Dallas, or even to some extent the early little bit of his Washington tenure, it was, all right, we can't just have you standing out at the 3-point line all the time, because then you become very easy to guard. So what he worked on really over the last year and a half was teams will willingly switch on him because they feel like, man, we can put a guard on him because he's not going to take him down in the post and mask those guys. And what he's done and really learned is, I don't need to get all the way to the basket. But if I can get to 10, 12, 15 feet, there's about maybe one or two other players, and one of them, the rookie, and Victor Wembanyama, that's going to stay with me if I try to turn and shoot over the top of whoever that player is. And I think what we're going to see with Porzingis is you're going to see the Celtics make heavy use of, hey, you switch on him, we're going to throw it to him, let him go to work in that mid-post area where he knows now, if I just get to there, no one can touch my shot. I'll get it off every time, and it hit at pretty good efficiency.
Keith Smith joined us, longtime Celtics insider over at Celtics Blog. Now he's working over at Spot Track, which is a site that I absolutely love. And the guy Mike, who started that site, is a friend of the show as well. We love having both both guys from these sites on. So he's with us now on the Brady Farkas show here on DEV. The rest of the Eastern Conference, Milwaukee gets Dame. He obviously has health issues. Philadelphia still looks good. Cleveland was a young up-and-coming team last year that certainly has a lot of talent. The East looks pretty good overall, again, depth-wise this year, Keith.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that it's as deep as the Western Conference, which looks like an absolute bloodbath again after, you get past probably the Spurs and Trailblazers, who are clearly going to take a little bit to get back up there. But they are absolutely loaded. But in the East, what you have, I think, is really good top-end depth. I don't know what Philadelphia will become. I don't know that the 76ers know what they'll become. Because who knows what's going to happen with James Harden. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, good last year. They added really good fitting players to what they needed. They kind of solved for a handful of their weaknesses, and you're going to have another year of growth. They've kind of now taken that step to being a playoff team. They know what it takes. I think you're going to see them be heavy in the mix here this season. I think the Knicks are a good, solid team. And Miami didn't get Damian Lillard, but they're not going to sulk about it. As far as the team goes, the fans and media down there are a whole other story, but the team is not going to, cry me a river on this. They're just going to get to work and do what they do, and they're still going to be heard from in this conference. And then when you've got teams like Indiana and Orlando, you can't count on those teams as wins on your schedule anymore because they've got a lot of talent, and they're going to be tough. So I do think the East is, it may not be as deep overall as the West, but there are some really good quality teams in this conference.
We don't need names attached to this because we don't know the names yet. But Brad Stevens yesterday made mention at Media Day that the Celtics have a lot of second-round picks. He still thinks they have the flexibility to go and do things in the trade market. There's obviously the buyout market later into the season. Maybe they can address some of their depth issues and concerns there. You're taking a look at the finances, pretty nitty-gritty here. How do they have any money left, though?
Yeah, their best thing that they have left that they can use is they have a $6.2 million trade exception from the Grant Williams sign and trade to the Mavericks. So that's something that they can use, either trade for a player that fits within that exception amount, or they can claim a player off waivers if their contract fits in that exception amount. So, and I'll plug over on Spot Track. You can pull up 23, 24 NBA salaries, sort it by salary. You can even sort it by positions, whether it's forward, guard, center, wing, point guard, shooting guard, whatever you want. and you can see everybody who fits in that trade exception. And, those are kind of your guys you might be looking at the Celtics going and getting. Beyond that, it's veteran minimum contracts. Now, veteran minimum contracts at this time of year, that's what most teams have to offer. So that there's a good chance Celtics are on even playing field. One word of caution, the buyout market has changed. Under the new CBA this year, when you're up over that second tax base, which the Celtics are now up and over, you can no longer sign players that were bought out that made more than the mid-level exception amount. And that's about $12 million or so. So what that means for the Celtics is if it's one of these players, like a John Wall or one of those guys who got bought out, in the last few years and then immediately turned around and signed with a team, you're not going to be able to get a guy who makes 20, 30 million, gets bought out, wants to join a contender for the stretch run down the playoffs. That's not allowed anymore. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But I don't know that I'm going to stress too much because the buyout market, it rarely delivers, major hitters for these big teams. It's usually those guys. They're on the buyout market for a reason quite often. And one of the things I love to say is a lot of those guys are a lot more named than they are teams.
There's truly a market for what you do, and I'm just amazed that you can follow it. Like, the NBA contracts are like hieroglyphics to me, and I think I know the league pretty well, to be honest with you. But what you do, I appreciate that you're doing it because I frankly I couldn't.
Yeah, it can be tricky. Yeah, at times for sure. It's I like to say it's a lot of misspent hours. For me with I probably could have maybe if I spent more time working on my jump shots and learning about how to pay guys with a good jump shot, maybe things would have gone differently. Probably not if we're being honest. But yeah, I love it. Right? It's nothing to me is better than the game. I think people often think I'm like this soulless transactional robot that just cares about those things. I love the game the most. It's my most favorite thing in the world. I love it so much. But it's to get there and how you build rosters and how you build teams. Those are the things that I really, really love. And kind of to that bend, a lot of people have been asking me, what is an Exhibit 9 contract? What's an Exhibit 10? What are these camp deals? How do these work? We just posted on Spot Track just a little bit ago an explainer explaining what all those are and why hundreds of them are signed every offseason.
Well, you can certainly go to SpotTrack.com. It's said like Spot Track. It is spelled like SPOTRAC, SPOTRAC. So if you're interested, you can go to SpotTrack.com and check it out. Keith Smith, his work is over there. And again, longtime Celtics fan and insider, and appreciate your time today, Keith. Thank you very much as always. The season is we're counting down now, just a couple weeks away. We'll catch up again down the road.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Keith Smith, SpotTrack.com, and longtime Celtics blog insider. I want to react to what Keith Smith said on the other side of the break, but I have to say, Danny knows this because I've told this to Danny before, but the audience at large doesn't know this. Keith Smith is the guy who came up with the idea for the NBA bubble. That's right. In the COVID 2020 year, now at this point, 2020, so the 2019-2020 season, the bubble that was played at Disney in Orlando, Keith Smith is the guy who came up with that idea. I will never forget that fact. Keith Smith wrote an article for Yahoo Sports in which he proposed, you can go find this, in which he proposed the COVID bubble. And I don't know that he's ever been given credit for it by anyone at the NBA. He should be. But Keith Smith used to work. He lives in Orlando. He used to work at Disney. So he knew, okay, there were hotel rooms. And he knew that they already host college tournaments at Disney. And they have a high number of games there. So he's like, okay, they have enough courts. They have practice courts. They have locker rooms already. They have ample hotel space. They have ample restaurant space. You could do social distancing. You can have the workers who are working there already do it because they're not entertaining guests right now, so they need a job. So Keith Smith is the guy who came up with the COVID bubble idea back in 2019, 2020. So we started playing in the bubble at the end of July. They started intaking people into the bubble, I think, at the beginning of July. COVID shut everything down in March. I don't know when Keith Smith actually came up with the idea. Maybe it was April, and then the NBA people kind of rolled with it like by June. I don't know. But Keith Smith is the guy who came up with the COVID bubble idea in Orlando, and he deserves credit for it. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. We'll react to what Keith Smith had to say. There was one thing that stuck out to me. Well, on my list of concerns, Keith Smith said something new that wasn't on my list. I'll tell you what that was. That's next.
If your winter tires are tired, poor, or otherwise not ready to face this winter, bring your vehicle to us at Waterbury Service Center. We have the right tires for winters, studded, all season. From tiny hybrids to 3/4-ton trucks. We wash, clean, mount, and balance your tires. Stop in today and find the tires you need and the service you deserve. We're Waterbury Service Center, helping you through another long winter. Full service repair right on Main Street in Waterbury. Thank you.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results.
I've been advertising on WDEV for a number of years now. It's been a really great spot for me to get my name out.
We're an excellent partner for our advertising dollars.
We jumped at the opportunity and we're so pleased we did. We have experienced incredible results.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
Explore 50% off everything for a limited time. Now through October 9th at Banana Republic Factory. Save on elevated fall essentials, polished occasion wear, and more. Only at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store.
We're going abroad for the first time in years to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Explore 50% off everything for a limited time. Now through October 9th at Banana Republic Factory. Save on elevated fall essentials, polished occasion wear, and more. Only at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store.
The sock sale is back. It's mid-October, and that means one thing and one thing only. Sock sale, called the 13th wonder of the world. The annual Cabot Hosiery Mill Sock Sale is back, bigger and better than ever. The 41st annual Cabot Hosiery Mill Sock Sale is Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd and 28th and 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. As always, we'll have more socks than you can shake a stick at. Cold weather hunting socks, run, hike, ski, and snowboard socks, merino wool and cool max, novelty and holiday patterns, real military surplus socks, and plus sizes for the hardiest of feet. Everything you love about our socks, plenty of them, all at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. 10% off any purchase over $100. Don't miss this sale. Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd and 28th and 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. Plenty of parking and tent coverage for rain or snow. This is Rick Cabbage for Cabot Hosiery Mills, and we absolutely positively feel the best thing you can do for you, your feet, your family, and friends is to buy socks from the 13th wonder of the world at the sock capital of the world, the Cabot Hosiery Mills annual sock sale. Don't miss it.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by vtdigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at vtdigger.org or sign up for our podcast. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here at WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. I want to give a special shout out to those people who are watching the show. They're doing so live right now on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live or maybe on my Twitter account, which is at WDEV Radio Brady, or on my X account now. It's just called X. I will not get used. Danny, has your phone updated yet to the point where you actually have the little X logo, or do you still have the Twitter bird?
Yeah, it's the X icon.
I still have the Twitter bird.
Wow.
I don't know if that means I haven't updated my phone in, enough time or whatever. I don't know when the last time I ran an update is. I don't know if I'm supposed to get another update soon, but I still have the Twitter bird icon out there. And I feel good having that.
Well, lucky you.
Something stuck out to me from Keith Smith's interview, and it was all great. The interview is already up. Danny's done a great job at getting it up already on our podcast channel. Just search for the Brady Farkas Show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Danny, there was something that Keith Smith said that did strike me as worrisome, right? I asked him if, like I had said, does he view the front court as an issue like I do? And he said not. He said yes, but not maybe in the way that I was thinking about. Did he play Keith Smith number 3?
Last year, they were the best defensive rebounding team in the league by the end of the season. And I know some people might be like, wait, what? No, that can't be. But they were. Now, this year, that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. And part of what put them at the best was, despite not having the one kind of singular dominant rebounder, you had guys like Smart and Grant Williams who did the dirty work of they'd check out, they'd box out, they'd make sure, that guys were freed up to go after the glass. And they're going to have to do a little bit more of that as a team.
Yeah, the rebounding that could be problematic. Right? I mentioned the front court or lack of depth in the front court being a worry for me, but I was thinking more in terms of guarding other bigs, or I was thinking of, offensively, the issues it could present if you don't have big guys out there. What if a big guy gets hurt? I was thinking less about the rebounding. And Danny, that is something that Robert Williams was very, very good at. That is something that Grant Williams was good at. That is something that Marcus Smart is good at. That is something that allowed for Tatum and Brown to get out and run and be in transition. You have lost some of that in the moves that you made. Kristaps Porzingis, he said it right. He's 7'3", but sometimes he plays like he's 6'3". He's not necessarily a guy who's going to get you 14 rebounds a game, especially if he does end up playing, at least some of his time on the perimeter. Al Horford tries hard, plays hard, does a lot of good things. He's not a 12 rebound a game guy anymore at this point in his career. They've lost Grant Williams. They've lost Smart. Now, I think Drew Holiday is obviously very, very good, but he's going to be matched up on point guards. It's going to be hard for him to get in the fray and get a ton of rebounds. So, Danny, I do think the rebounding is at least something that could be problematic. We got to add that to our list of things to watch.
I guess it's just team rebounding, right? Like, it's an individual effort thing, but everybody has to get together. If you're not the biggest team in the world, you need to gang rebound.
You do need to gang rebound, but so much of the game, though, is built on getting out in transition that it's easy for players, especially like Tatum or Brown, that want to get out in transition. It's normal for them to leak out, right? Like you leave the rebounding to 2 or 3 guys, and your stars get out in transition and get out and run early. That is something that can happen. I think Tatum does a pretty good job of getting the ball, bringing it up the court, and pushing it, but it is something that we are going to have to watch for. The opener is coming up again on October 25th. We're going to have 5 or 6 preseason games here leading up to that.
First one's 5 days from now.
First one is coming up on the 8th. First one is Sunday. Celtics, Sixers on Sunday. Then they'll play the Knicks. Then they'll play the Sixers again. Then they'll play the Knicks again. Then they'll play the Hornets again. And then they'll play. So they got 5 preseason games, and then they play the Knicks on the opener. Here's what I don't like, and I get why they do this stuff. They do this stuff to keep costs down. They do it because it's regional. They do it because it's easy to get to, and it's less travel. So I do get it. I really hate that the Celtics are playing 2 preseason games against the Knicks and then opening up with the Knicks. Come on. The players don't need to see, from a strategy standpoint and all that. I don't like when NFL teams play a team in the preseason that they're going to see in the regular season. I don't like that either. All those years the Patriots will play the Giants every year, and then we'd see the Giants in the regular season. So I don't like, from a coaching standpoint, that you got to see the Knicks twice before you actually play the Knicks on the opener. I don't like it from a personnel standpoint. I know there's not a lot of surprises in the NBA at this point, but I still don't like it. You're telling me if they're going to open up with the Knicks, they can't play the Nets in the preseason twice instead. Or they can't play, they couldn't play Toronto. Someone else who's relatively regional. Toronto's a little bit further out there. Again, I get why they do this, but I'd rather them not play the Knicks. They couldn't play Washington. Come on. And I'm anti-Knicks. I don't want to see any more of the Knicks than I have to.
Aren't we all?
Too much of them. Yes, I'm already have to see too much of them. I like Jalen Brunson. Beyond that, I'm tired of the Knicks. I don't want to see that. I'm going to see the Knicks 100 times on television this year. People are going to talk about every superstar that gets disgruntled. Is he a fit for the Knicks? What about Zion? Is he a fit for the Knicks? And what about Wembanyama? How long until he's a Knick? And is Anthony Davis, can he become a Knick? I'm already tired. I'm preemptively tired of the Knicks storyline.
And notice how nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, and nobody wants to go there except for Jalen Brunson. And, oh my God. And Julius Randle. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Come wrap it up. Frankly, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I got Patriots sound. I got more Celtics sound. I got the story still about how the guy approached my vehicle last night. I got a lot of things I want to get to. We'll wrap it up next. I don't know what I'm going to come up with.
And now, the Dr. Dale Show, where automotive techno-analysts Dale and Gardner LaRue answer some of car owners' most perplexing questions.
Greetings, radio listeners. At LaRue Brothers, we provide anything a vehicle requires by way of repair and maintenance. But our legendary transmission repair is still our crowning
I like
achievement.
Gobert,
Agreed.
not at that
We
price.
fix all transmissions,
Yeah.
including GMC and Chevy trucks of all sizes, but especially 1500s, Ram ProMasters, and many more. Plus all foreign cars, including hybrids. Due to supply chain issues, we stocked up on all GMC/Chevy transmission parts.
Right, Gardner. LaRue is ready to fix your train.
Dad, folks who come to LaRue always appreciate the quality of our work and our LaRue tranny warranty.
We are privileged to have so many repeat customers, and we work diligently to earn it with all our transmission work. Call us today.
LaRue Brothers Transmissions, and a whole lot more. Call us at 1-800-420-4330.
Hi, I'm Bob Lake, CEO of Green Mountain Credit Union. We're proudly member-owned, which means what you deposit, we invest in your neighbors, friends, family, and small businesses that are essential to our community. And all interest and deposits made go right back to our members. Continuing our philosophy of people helping people, Green Mountain Credit Union's old school lending with 21st century technology. I invite you to stop by one of our locations in South Burlington, Rutland, or Berlin, or find us at greenmountaincu.com.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting one-of-a-kind local businesses like WDEV to preserve the distinct character of Vermont.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle, so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Peter over in Williston wants the Celtics to get Rudy Gobert to help with their rebounding problems. I like Rudy Gobert. Danny hates him, but,
hate is strong. I didn't say hate.
He's making $40 million. The Celtics couldn't afford him. I mean, seriously, what Keith Smith said was actually fascinating. Again, the NBA contracts are like hieroglyphics. They are incredibly difficult to understand. The Exhibit 10 contracts, Exhibit 9 contracts, two-way contracts, mid-level exemptions, tax exemptions. There's all kinds of stuff in the NBA that's hard to get. Bottom line is, Keith Smith said the Celtics could basically afford a player who's making $6.2 million. That's what they can afford. That's what they have available to them. They can acquire a player who's making $6.2 million. Rudy Gobert is making 7 times that. So you're not going to be able to do that. I don't have the list in front of me, Danny, of guys who make $6 million, but that's where you're shopping it, right? A guy who makes $6.2 million or less, that's who the Celtics can go and easily acquire over the course of the year. So, I mean, that's who you need to be looking at. So your expectations need to be low. That's for sure. Your expectations need to be low. We got just a couple minutes left. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up tonight. That's on from 7 o'clock until 9. And then we're going to have Eye on the World with John Batchelor. They'll obviously have a lot to cover on the national front with the Speaker of the House being voted out. Your update on the Major League Baseball playoffs is this. We've got one final right now. The Rangers shut out the Rays. Final score of that one was 4-0. So Tampa is 99 wins and down 1-0 right now in the playoffs. The Twins are leading the Blue Jays 3-1 in the top of the 8th. The Twins are looking for their first playoff win since 2005. They have lost 18 consecutive playoff games. That is the longest playoff winless drought in any of the four major professional sports that's going. I believe certainly going now, and I do believe that it's the longest of all time. 18 consecutive playoff losses for the Twins. They are 2 innings away from breaking that. They again lead the Blue Jays 3-1, and that surprises me. I was on a podcast actually yesterday, and I picked the Blue Jays to go to the World Series. I think their offense is that good, but it's not being that good today. They are certainly, and they have sputtered at times this year, right? They have been underwhelming at times. I thought they were locked in at the end of the season, but right now they're down 3-1 against the Twins. And then tonight, 2 games right after we get off the air. 7:08 is a game tonight. That is between the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. 8:08 is the Phillies and the Marlins in an NL East battle. I have no interest in the NL, frankly. I will watch it because it's baseball, it's the playoffs, and I love to watch it. But I have no interest in watching the Marlins or the Diamondbacks be in the playoffs. I don't think either of those teams are particularly that good. But ends up being that both teams are in the playoffs and both teams have a chance. And we'll see what happens. I think the Phillies out of the wild card certainly have the best chance at doing something, given their experience, given their talent level. Schwarber, Harper, Real Muto, Turner, Wheeler, Kimbrel. They got a lot of guys with a lot of experience and a lot of firepower as well. Tomorrow, we're going to talk baseball, right? We're going to talk a deep dive on the Boston Red Sox. There's probably going to be some Patriot stuff, too, that we didn't get to today. But tomorrow is a deep dive on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to have TC on. He's going to be with us after 6 o'clock tomorrow. I want TC on later because I think I want to keep TC longer than 12, 13 minutes. I think right now, I could see me going 20 minutes with TC. I want to do kind of a full recap on what went wrong this year, where the Red Sox are going, who they want to hire for the Heim Bloom position, what exactly we make of, the development of young players, anything we can get to for the Red Sox, I want to get to with TC. We'll do that at about just after 6 o'clock. Also talk to Freddie Coleman tomorrow. That interview is going to be taped, and we'll use some of it probably on Thursday. The Twins have just given up a leadoff double to Vlad Jr., so the Blue Jays are looking to trying to get to the Twins and extend the misery for that franchise. Brady Farkas Show podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Thanks to you. Thanks to Danny. I will see you all tomorrow here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is next.
Come to the Taste of Montpelier Food Festival and be part of the great